Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to Gaming, and a rare system video. I know we so rarely do these, but Andy got in touch with me, one of my subscribers, via MatthewDawkins.com to say, Matthew, I have picked up a physical copy of The World Below, and I believe that entitles me to a video. It just so happens that I have been making my way through The World Below, which I enjoy very much. However, I'm a little befuddled by the defense and integrity traits in Storypath Ultra. Please could you explain them in a video? I'm happy to do so, and what's more, anyone who picks up a physical copy of The World Below and gets in touch with me via MatthewDawkins.com can request a video. The World Below is the only RPG for which I gain royalties, so I'm very eager for more people to purchase it. Now, Andy's question about defense and integrity is one I've seen come up, and I know the reason it does. Andy made it clear as well. It seems to work differently for player characters and antagonists. It isn't just that it seems to, it does work differently. Defense is your resistance against physical attacks, physical ardor, physical effects, essentially. Defense is what it is, and that's the same whether you're a player character or whether you're an antagonist, an adversary, a beast, a monster, whatever you want to call them in your game. So whether you're playing The World Below, Monster Kingdoms, Curseborn, Trinity Continuum, Steam Wars, At the Gates, defense is always defense. Now, defense functions differently for player characters and antagonists, as I say. And to put it very simply, we'll deal with the antagonists first. Defense is a static value for them. In an adversary's traits, what sometimes referred to as a stat block, there will be a defense number, a value noted. That number is what the player character needs to hit when they roll to hit in order to affect the target. So, therefore, if an antagonist's defense is 2, the player character needs to get 2 8s, or an 8 and a 9, or 2 9s, or a 10, because 10s count as 2 hits in Storypath Ultra. That would hit the defense, therefore your attack would get through, and at the very minimum you will deal 1 injury to the antagonist, unless they have some kind of armor that is going to prevent it, but that's not what we're going into right now. Point is, defense for an antagonist is a static value. You just need to meet or exceed it, and your attack gets through to whatever effect your attack is aiming to do. Integrity is much the same. When we're looking at antagonists, adversaries and such, integrity remains a static value. And it is your social defense, or rather their social defense and their mental defense. It's all rolled up into one particular trait, the integrity value. So if you are trying to persuade a guard to let you pass, or intimidate a king into raising the bounty that you're hunting down, whatever the case may be, hell, you might even be setting a puzzle, a riddle for someone to bypass, you have got to challenge the target's integrity. So just like defense, it's a static value. Let's say they've got an integrity of 3. When you make your persuasion plus manipulation roll, for example, you need to get 3 hits or more in order to beat their integrity. Now, in doing this, of course, just as with all things in Storypath Ultra, every die matters. If you happen to get more than the target value in difficulty, you can start spending those points on influence tricks, investigation tricks potentially, if we're talking integrity, or combat tricks, if we're talking defense, and trying to beat that. So this is what allows you to not only hit someone, but also shove them. It's what allows you to not only influence someone, but also imprint something of yourself on them, make their attitude towards you change, that kind of thing. But it's that simple when it comes to adversaries. Static value, you need to meet or exceed it. By exceeding it, you can buy tricks. Tricks allow you to do additional effects on top of that target. Now, things differ when we're talking about defense and integrity for player characters, because while they have a standard value of 1, which may be adjusted if you are dealing with things like durability advantage, but we won't go into that in this video. What we will say, and this is the base rule, is every single character has a starting defense of 1, and that's every single player character has a starting defense of 1. In theory, if your character was to not defend an attack coming in toward them, the attacker would therefore need to hit 1 or above in order to successfully hit you. Simple as that. But let's say you do wish to resist the attack. Well, resisting any attack is a reflexive action. And what that means is you automatically get to add your stamina. So if someone says, I'm going to hit you, you say, I'm going to roll defense. What that means is you roll your stamina value. You don't add a skill to it. You roll your stamina value. Every 8, 9, 10, every hit you get increases the difficulty that the target, or the person targeting you in this case, needs to hit or exceed in order to harm you. Hopefully that makes sense. So if, for example, I start off with my defense of 1, I have a stamina of 3, I roll 3 dice, I get a 6, a 7, and an 8, well, the 8 is a hit, therefore my defense is now effectively 2. The good news is, if when the attack hits, let's say it doesn't get through, I can start buying defense tricks. Again, every die matters. If my defense ultimately exceeds the attacker's number of hits, I can use the excess hits to start buying defense tricks. And defense tricks might allow me to move out of the way, to dodge, to distract, to cause a feint, that kind of thing. So a player character's defense is malleable, it's flexible, it will change depending on the attack. You can set it, you can basically say that's it for me, but more likely than not you're going to want to change it as the combat goes on, especially if you roll particularly low or want to take other actions. But integrity has the exact same formula going on. Integrity starts off as 1. Now, when you decide, oh, this person's trying to influence me, this antagonist is trying to influence me, again, you could let them do it, difficulty 1, or just tell them that they can do it and take the momentum. Or you can make a defensive action, an integrity action in this case, which requires you to roll your resolve or your composure. Resolve usually for mental influence, composure for social influence. Sometimes the two lines get blurred, so you do get to choose which you do. And just as with defense, you roll the number of dice you have in that attribute. Let's say resolve. Let's say you've got 4 in resolve, and you roll a 2, a 4, an 8, and a 9. Congratulations, you got 2 hits, which means your integrity for the purposes of this influence action is now 3. And just like defense, if the person trying to influence you only gets 1 hit, congratulations, you've got 2 additional hits that you can use for integrity tricks. If they get 3 hits, well, they've hit the difficulty, therefore you don't get any tricks, and they successfully influence you. So that's where things differ. I've actually seen some Storypath Ultra games where people do give antagonists flexible integrity and defense, that they roll for it each time. For me, I found that bogs the game down a little too much. It's a lot simpler when they just have a static value you need to meet or exceed. And while playing with combat tricks with antagonists is fun, I don't find influence tricks or investigation tricks nearly as necessary for antagonist actions. And likewise, likewise, integrity tricks, defense tricks don't tend to play so much of a part with antagonists as the others. So that's your difference. Just to recap, in summary, antagonists have a flat value, defense or integrity. You meet or exceed it when you roll your attack or your influence action. If you meet or exceed it, congratulations. You affect them, whether it's to hit them, influence them, befuddle them. With your excess hits, you can bias your combat tricks, your influence tricks, whatever it is you're doing. When they try to hit you, they announce what they're doing. You roll stamina for defense, or you roll composure or resolve for integrity. If ultimately you end up with more hits and therefore a higher integrity or a higher defense than the attacker's influence or combat action, you can then start buying integrity tricks, defense tricks. I would suggest the only thing to add is you can choose to take a full defensive action in a combat, let's say. If you decide to do this, that is a full, simple action. Most of the time these defensive actions are reflexive, so you can do something and defend. But if you're doing a full defense, you get to roll your stamina twice to calculate the number of hits and therefore buy yourself lots of defense tricks. It's often worth doing if you come late in the popcorn initiative of Storypath Ultra. Right. That is it. That's defense and integrity. I hope that has been enlightening for you, Andy. I hope that's been helpful to anyone else who's been looking into the system. And if you've got any other questions, by all means, post them in the comments below, or pick up a copy of The World Below, contact me through MatthewDawkins.com, and send me your video request. Thank you very much for watching. I will be seeing you next time.